The arrival of a new Premier League season means the arrival of a whole host of new kits, with all 20 top flight teams unveiling new jerseys for the upcoming campaign. Whether you're aiming to win the title or set to fight relegation, you want to look good doing so today we're going to rate every Premier League club's new home kit out of 10. We'll start with Arsenal, and as well as having a new manager, they've also got a new selection of kits, although I don't think fans had been protesting for a new shirt as much as a new gaffer. But anyway, Unai Emery's team will be sporting a night kit sponsored by Fly Emirates once again, and their home shirt is a strange one. I can't decide if it's really nice or really horrible. The faded red hoop on the arm will divide opinion, as will the apparent triangle fade on the chest, and to be honest, I can't quite make my mind up on it. It's just okay. I'm going to give the Arsenal home shirt a 6.5 out of 10, as the club embark on a new era without Arsene Wenger. Down to Bournemouth, who haven't had major changes to the kit, other than alternating from red and black stripes to black and red stripes, with more black appearing this year than red compared to last season. They've also added a tiny stripe of gold on the collar, which looks alright, but other than that it's not too different from last season's, so it's hard to see why Cherries fans would shell out another £50 minimum for a new home kit. Just like last year, it's a 6 out of 10 for Eddie Howe's men. Staying on the south coast with Brighton, who as always have brought out a lovely little number, opting for a primarily white kit and red night tick, rather than the blue and yellow mix that survived in the Premier League last season. Changing from thinner stripes to thick AF blue blocks, Brighton's kit once again looks at home in the top flight of English football, but will they still be a Premier League team come the end of May? As for the kit, it's an 8 out of 10 for the Seagulls. Off to Europa League side Burnley now, Christ that sounds weird, and their kit is certainly better than last season's, but they've ruined it by the huge sponsor that's been slapped on the middle of the chest, as they look to encourage all their fans to take up betting with some company I've never heard of. Rather than the faded light blue sleeves that ruined last season's shirt, Burnley's Puma kit now has a block light blue which extends round the collar and looks much better than last year's effort, but sadly it's a kit that's ruined by the sponsor, so we're going to give the Clarets a 5.5 out of 10. Next up is newly promoted Cardiff City, who replaced Swansea as the Premier League's token Welsh side. The best thing about Cardiff's return to the top flight is the fact they're wearing blue again, rather than the stupid red shit they had to wear a few years ago, and this is probably their best kit since returning to their famous colours. However, despite it being their best, it doesn't mean it's one of the Premier League's best. It's a simple design in classic Adidas, which is pretty inoffensive and will appease some fans. We're going to give Cardiff's jersey a 6 out of 10, and I'm off to visit Malaysia. Back to London with Chelsea, who really improved on their fairly uninspiring and simple design from last season. This kit has been out for a while, having been handed a debut in the final game of last season where the Blues were hammered 3-0 by Newcastle, and Maurizio Sarri will be hoping the new kit isn't cursed. Not that it is, because curses aren't real. The new Chelsea kit appears to use an ever so slightly lighter shade of blue, as well as very thin white and red horizontal lines that take it away from the boring ensemble of last year, as well as throwing back to the club's previous use of red on kits. A really smart shirt, so we're going to give Chelsea an 8.5 out of 10. Next up is Crystal Palace, and I'm not going to lie lads, it's a bit of a horror show. Last year the Eagles had a pretty nice kit, but all that hard work has been undone this year. I've made it pretty clear that I don't like fade on kits, and that's exactly what Palace has, except it's even worse because only one of the stripes is faded, with the red sections including horizontal and progressively darker blue lines. Sorry Palace fans, this is the worst the Premier League has to offer this season. It's a 3 out of 10. Now for our first trip to Merseyside, and Everton are another example of a brilliant kit by Umbro this season, who have really started to salvage their reputation as a kit provider. I didn't like last season's shirt, but this year's is great and looks like a classic Everton shirt. A neat little button up bit, with the only negative being the horrific Angry Birds sponsor on the arm that still drives me up the wall. Everton will be hoping for a better season this time out, and things are already looking better on the kit front, so it's a 7 out of 10 for the Toffees. Fulham are back in the Premier League after a 4-year absence, and are a much more vibrant attacking team nowadays. The Cottagers are continuing their association with Adidas, while welcoming new sponsor Dapperbet to the party, with the sponsor being somewhat encased in a big black block that goes around the middle, fortunately just on the front of the kit, keeping the back fully white. It's smart from Fulham, who've had good kits for the past 4 seasons, and this year they get a 7 out of 10. Last season I hated Huddersfield's kit, I think I chose it as my worst of the entire league, but this year they've gone from the bottom right to the top, as I honestly love the Terriers kit this season. What a transformation it's been. I love everything about it, the design from Umbro, the shade of blue for the stripes, the sponsor isn't too overbearing, and the new badge is pretty tidy too. I think I might just become a Huddersfield fan to be honest. It's a 9 out of 10 for David Wagner's men. Another team with a fantastic kit are Leicester City, who really benefit from swapping Puma for Adidas. Last year the Foxes kit was a bit too gold in places, but this year it looks much classier, combining the legendary Adidas 3 stripes with Leicester's 3 colours, blue, white and gold. The gold is discreet, featuring on the end of the sleeve and the collar, unlike the OTT gold on last season's effort. The dashes across the front of the kit add an extra layer of quality to it. Christ, I'm chatting some bollocks now, and for me it's one of the best kits of the season. It's a 9 out of 10 for the Foxes. Back to Merseyside with Liverpool, who had the best kit around last season, which has probably hindered my opinion on this year's shirt. I mean, it's still a good looking effort from Liverpool, but it's got nothing on last season. Maintaining the deep red colour, New Balance have added a collar to the shirt, with the cooler players having to button it up all the way to the top, like they're in an indie band from the early 2000s. New Balance are a great kit provider, and this is by no means a bad kit, it's just not as good as last season's stellar effort. But I'm still going to give Klopp & Co a 7.5 out of 10. Next up are the champions Manchester City, who've just followed the basic Nike template to provide a very bland kit that you wouldn't want to fork out big money for, especially if you've already got last year's home shirt. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. The differences are the little button at the top that's been added, and the change in shade of blue for the sleeves, with 3 different shades appearing on the kit. I mean, it's nice enough, but it's hardly a head turner, so we're going to give the champions 6 out of 10 for their kit. Over to rivals Manchester United, and now this really is disappointing. To be honest, this would be a really nice kit if it wasn't for those stupid tiny black hoops at the bottom that have basically just ruined what could have been a classic Manchester United shirt. The black Adidas stripes on the shoulder look cool, and that was all that was needed, but no, they took it one step further and shat all over it with more needless add-ons. It might sound petty, but such a little thing has completely ruined my opinion of Manchester United's home shirt, so it's only getting a 4 out of 10. To the northeast now with Newcastle, and the one thing they've got right this summer are the kits. Once again supplied by Puma, Newcastle haven't veered too far away from last season, going for more white than black, as well as swapping the colour of the socks to white. The main plus from the Newcastle shirt is that the back is still black and white stripes with red numbers, a feature that returned last season and would look brilliant on the anniversary kit. It's the best of the Puma home kits in the Premier League this season, and it gets a 7.5 out of 10. Next up is Southampton, and they're continuing to suffer through the Under Armour kits, but in fairness this might be the best one they've produced for the Saints, I think. I keep changing my mind about it. 1 minute's horrible, the next it's really nice. I'm so conflicted. The return to proper red and white stripes is a positive, but I can't decide whether or not the red shoulders and red sleeves are a bit too much. One thing is for sure though, is that the shape of the neck is horrible, so that certainly brings it down. Since I can't decide, I'm going to go straight down the middle and give Southampton a 5 out of 10. It's Tottenham's turn now, and it's a bit of a shocker from Spurs, which is hard to do considering all it is a white shirt and navy shorts. From the top down it starts great, with a nice navy trim around the neck. The badge and sponsor and manufacturer are perfectly normal, then suddenly a faded navy blue section begins that eventually merges into the shorts to match the navy colour, so from a distance it looks like the Tottenham players will be wearing a play suit, something more commonly seen worn by women on a night out on the town. While those women might look alright, Harry Kane and co certainly don't, so it's a 3.5 out of 10 for Spurs. Next up we've got the Hornets, and they've had a somewhat radical change to their kit, and you know what, I think it's pretty damn neat. It's the first time in the club's history, I think, that the Hornets have had full-on black and yellow stripes, and despite being a bit of a shocker when you first look at it, it's actually really nice, so fair play to Watford for actually doing something different and getting it spot on. It's not the best the Premier League has to offer, but it's certainly up there, so Watford are getting an 8.5 out of 10. One club that's had a very busy summer are West Ham, adding the likes of Jack Wilshere, Felipe Anderson and Andrei Yarmolenko to their squad, as well as a brand new kit that, while it is nice, lacks the traditional light blue arm, much to the anger of some West Ham fans, who were understandably slightly peeved at just only a tiny bit of the cuff being light blue. If it was any other club, it would be a pretty good shirt, but the steering away from West Ham's tradition loses its some marks, so we're going to give the Hammers a 6 out of 10. And finally, newly promoted and cash-rich Wolves, who are back in the Premier League with their Portuguese superstars, but sadly, for all their money, couldn't afford to produce an exciting kit worthy of being back in the Premier League. It's a pretty damn plain Adidas jersey, which is okay if you like to keep things simple, and then they've just slapped a bugger off huge sponsor in the middle of the shirt, which basically engulfs the whole thing. I don't even know what W88 are. Is it a betting company? Apparently it's a global online gaming company after some research, whatever that means. Either way, Wolves are only getting a 4 out of 10. Sorry lads, you'll just have to do better next season after you romp to survival with your team of megastars. So there we go, we've rated every Premier League home shirt for the upcoming season, with Leicester and Huddersfield getting top marks. Well, not top marks, they got 9 out of 10, but the best marks. Sometime next week or sometime in the near future, we're going to do the same for the away kits, so look out for that. But for the meantime, that's every new Premier League home kit rated out of 10. Let us know your ratings in the comments below, and don't forget to let me know why I'm such an idiot for liking one shirt and not thinking another one is perfect. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.